Hello, student leaders! Welcome to our SLCP meetup. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Lydia and I am one of the SLCP instructors. Um, I speak both English and French, so feel free to shoot me a message. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. Just wanted to note, I love when you guys are super interactive. So feel free to comment in the chat, let me know your name, where you're from. I'd love to hear it all. A little about me. I am from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I go to St. Mary's University in Halifax. So let me know what high school you're from, what province, etc. What's your favorite food? I'd love to hear it. So today we're going to be talking a bit about organization. So, one of the things that I've noticed is super duper important in organization when you're doing student leadership is it helps you stay on top of everything. It can sometimes literally make or break your journeys as a student leader. So, throughout my presentation, I will most likely have some prompts, and I would love if you guys could interact with me and let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on the topic, especially. This isn't just going to be me talking all the time, so I might not be able to hear your voice, but I would love to read what you have to say. So, let's take it away. Organization in student leadership. So, how does being organized help a student leader? Let me know what you think about that. The things that stand out to me is without organization, we can't do as many things as we want to do. If we're not organized and on top of our deadlines, things that need to be done, we wouldn't be able to accomplish all of the different events that we can. We wouldn't be able to jam pack our own daily schedules, as well as the events we're planning, into one schedule. It just wouldn't work. So let me know what you think. How does being organized help a student leader? I promise there are so many answers to this question. There's no right or wrong answer either. I'm sure you have a very valid answer. So let me know in the comments what you think. How does being organized help a student leader? In addition to that, especially I know everyone likes to keep on top of their studies. So we may be good student leaders and helping other people get involved in leadership. But it's important to know, well, as a leader, you have your own life as well. You can't live your own life if you don't keep that part organized as well. So lots of good thoughts on that. So some of the ideas that I had was it builds trust in relationships. If a teacher or some adults, businesses, etc., community members, they notice that you are organized as a student leader, they will trust you. They're going to want to invest and spend more time into the projects and the ideas that you have. So that's a really important thing about organization that we often overlook. Big one, it prevents burnout and relieves personal stress. So this one's huge. I myself, as a student leader, have suffered from burnout, and it's something that, from having that experience, I've learned. But if I could tell you as a student leader, well, here's some ways to avoid it. Organization would definitely be one of them. It also allows you to prioritize your time. So, as I had just mentioned, it's difficult to, pick your priorities and stuff. Being a student leader, you can learn, okay, well, if I prioritize my things, I can spend so much of my time doing different things, and you can do more things because you're prioritizing your time. So, that's a really cool thing that I love about organization. Next, it sets your events up for success. So, while being organized, you have all of the materials you need, everything, all of the people you need to help you with your event. Everything is planned. Your event, it's very hard to make mistakes when everything is so planned out and organized. Um, but with that being said, if something were to go wrong, you are better prepared to problem solve quickly, which is a super, super important quality for a student leader to have. And if you have any questions about my ideas, or if you have any ideas to add to this, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. 8 tips to becoming organized. So, as I mentioned, I was once myself a student leader in high school. Um, it took a lot of trial and error to learn what are the best things to be organized. So, I'm going to share the tips that have worked best for me. And if you have any, please let me know. I would love to hear it. Organization is also one of those things that you're definitely going to want to have that quality after you exit high school or wherever education you may be. It's something that you're going to need no matter what age you are. So that's what I think is so important about it. First one is planning ahead. When organizing an event, you should start planning weeks and days in advance. And this, of course, is going to depend on the size and weight of the event. So, throughout the SLCP, you may have heard lots of talk about a size and a weight of an event. If something is worth more, you might want to spend a little more time planning ahead. Or if it's a little bit of a smaller event, you probably don't need to plan too far in advance, but it's good to keep that in mind. It's good to also prep your personal schedule some time ahead, at least a week, I'd say. You can use a calendar or a planner. Um, I personally like to use a planner. I have a little pocket one that I can fit in my bag, and I prefer a smaller planner as well because I find it's easier to carry around. I'm more likely to use it. You can also get planners in different formats, like ones that show just the month, no weeks, nothing like that. Ones that show a page for every day. There's so many different cool formats you can get. I encourage you to check it out. Recognizing the value of time. So, as I mentioned, you guys are student leaders. You are super busy, which is totally awesome because it means you guys have an eager mindset. You want to take on every task, plan every event, and I promise you can accomplish that if you stay organized. So, staying on task is something that you can do to avoid procrastination. And I think if we recognize the value of time, like how important, how much, like if you think about it, you might be on your phone watching TikTok for an hour. But if you weren't on your phone watching TikTok, what could you have done with that time? I know I could do a lot of things in an hour. I could probably clean my whole room. But it's recognizing that value of time. I'm not saying don't go on TikTok. It's pretty cool. I won't lie. But maybe we should just think about, okay, well, I shouldn't use too much time on this so I can do other things. Do you have any ideas on how to best manage your time? Um, I myself, I remember I've tried to use the screen time app in my phone. At a point in time in my life that did not work for me. It wasn't enticing enough. But I find for me, managing my time, especially when it comes to schoolwork, sometimes putting away my phone makes me more accomplished and I can use my time more wisely. But what are some tips that you use to best manage your time? I'd love to hear it. Quality over quantity. So you might have heard this saying all the time, but it also applies when we talk about organization. So it's often better to organize fewer high impact events rather than a bunch of smaller impact events. Doing this can also prevent overwhelming yourself with a bunch of events to focus on. It's a lot easier to narrow that focus when you're organizing larger events. And I'm not saying they have to be very, very big, but just make them rich in quality. Spend your time to make something extra special rather than just leaving it at the halfway mark and engaging less people. Routine. So, routine is a big one. It's far more important than you'd think. I read this book called Atomic Habits, and it talks a lot about routine. It talks how much, like, from that book, I realized how much routine actually matters. Um, and it's something that will help you do a lot of the other things, like managing your time, recognizing the value of time. Um, Creating a routine can definitely help you. It will help you get those tasks that you need to do every day out of the way so you don't have to worry about them and you can spend your time on other things. So, what are three things that you have in your everyday routine? Three things I have in my routine would definitely, one of them is definitely reading before bed. That's a huge thing for me. I also do this thing where while I'm getting ready in the morning, I just have quiet time and I try not to rush myself in that time. That's part of my routine. Um, that's a really good one. And also, my routine is drinking a glass of water before and after bed. Mine are pretty like specific, but just let me know. It doesn't have to be a general. It could just be brushing your teeth every day. That's part of your routine. Doesn't have to be fancy at all. But I'd love to know what you have in your everyday routine. Let me know. Self care. This is one of my favorites because this is one I learned the hard way. So I get that you guys are busy, but it's really, really important to take downtime for yourself. And this one can also help you prevent burnout. So self-care, you may think of self-care and be like, "Oh, do you mean like skincare and face masks and all those but no. It totally doesn't have to be that. It can be anything under the sun that makes you feel relaxed. It could be reading a book, or maybe watching that favorite TV show of yours, or even just taking time to play with a pet. It could be anything. It could be skincare if that's what you like, um, or taking a bath. It's something that relaxes your mind and because sometimes I find, especially as students, our minds are running all the time. You're constantly thinking about, oh, I have this assignment due tomorrow. Oh, but I have to plan this event before next week. Like, there's so many things going on that your mind is just, it never gets a break. So, it's important to do self care activities that help you unwind. Don't multitask. This one might be slightly controversial, but I've learned this one the hard way. So, a lot of you guys might be a big fan of watching TV while you do schoolwork. But in reality, how much work do you actually get done when you watch TV and do schoolwork? Probably not that much. I don't get that much done when I do this. But in reality, we get work done twice as slow. And that makes us feel overwhelmed. So, to stay organized, it's best to stay focused on one task. If you really feel like you need to do something while you're doing your schoolwork it's just so boring, you can't pay attention. Something that I like to do is play music because it's something that can help you stay concentrated on your schoolwork, but you are also doing something to ease your brain. There's lots of different ways you can go about this, but I find doing two activities at once, it doesn't always go well. Adapt to change. So, don't get stuck on perfectionism. Things will go wrong. Things go wrong all the time. Last minute plans might completely throw off your schedule. But never, never panic. Focus on the task at hand and everything will work out. So, we staying organized will really help us adapt to change. Um, Last minute changes can really suck. They can. But if you have everything else in order, it's going to be really easy to come up with a plan really quickly and problem solve. Have you ever dealt with any last minute changes of plans? Did you feel overwhelmed and how did you deal with it? I find one thing I tend to freak out when there's a last minute plan change. Um, One thing that helps me is just taking a deep breath and just not saying anything, just being quiet for a couple minutes, thinking about it, staying calm, and then I can make a rational decision without leaving my anxiety and panic thoughts factor into this decision. Let me know what you think. Ask for help. So, remember, you are not alone. Remember, it's always, 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 you've got people around, you've got us, you've got a teacher, an adult, a friend. You can ask for help if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. If you're part of a group, it's easier to, divide and conquer, divide that work, lean on your peers for assistance. I'm sure it, if they notice that you need help in one moment, you can get them back with a favor in another situation. Don't take on more you can handle. It's hard enough, you've got so much going on. So just I think a lot of people feel guilty asking for help, but especially in a team situation, I think it's important to remember they are your team members for a reason, you know? Like everyone's there to help you. A teacher even. You might think they're against you, but no, they want to help you succeed. They want to help you. A parent, an adult, everyone wants to see you succeed. So lean on them when you need help. I promise it's not embarrassing. Don't feel guilty. If the worst they could say is no, which is probably not going to happen, but worst they could say, and then you move on. So always, always, always ask for help. Such a good tip. Now we're going to talk about organizational tools. Number one is a planner. I love planners. Sometimes I used to think, oh, well, why am I going to buy a planner when I have a calculator on my phone? Or, sorry, not a calculator, a calendar on my phone. And that was always my excuse. And then I finally bought one, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to use the calendar on my phone if I like this better. See, for me, I like planners because I can visually see my schedule. I can see the little boxes with, oh, I have this tomorrow because it's one box away. It is just such a great method for your brain to clue in all of your deadlines, see them all on one page. Amazing. I love it. So, there's tons of different options, like I mentioned, that you can get different layouts of the dates, etc. Um, I guarantee you can find them almost everywhere. Staples, any office supply store, get them at the bookstore. Lots of cool places. A checklist. This is a pretty good one. When I find I have a lot of things to do in one day, I will use a checklist. Um, that would basically be just like a to-do list, like write down all of the things you need to do in one day and then check them off as you do them. It'll make you feel so productive at the end of the day when you have all those boxes checked. It's just amazing. So that can help you. You can even write them in order of when you have to do them or what's more important. That'll help you, feel less overwhelmed when you see that on paper. Another thing is a calendar. This is a lot like a planner. Usually, I choose one or the other just because I don't like writing the same thing twice, but a lot of people like calendars because you can get them a lot bigger, you can get ones to stick on your wall, on your bulletin board, and you can, once again, visualize all of those days and of the month and see what's coming up, right in front of your eyes. It's super easy. You can easily make changes, etc. Another thing that I think is really, really cool is a shared Google Calendar. Now, it's not exactly like the calendar app on your phone because you can actually have other people collaborate on it. So, a shared Google Calendar, I could, for example, send it to all my coworkers at CSLA and they could contribute and put their own things in it, and I'd see their activities that they put on their calendar on my calendar. So, an instance where I think this would be cool is if your leadership group was planning events. you could make a shared Google Calendar, and all of your teammates and everyone who you're collaborating on events with could contribute to this calendar. And I just think that would be a very, very good way of putting it because everyone can see what everyone inputs and it will just all work out. Another thing is Google Folders. This is really good, especially if you have a lot of documents for schoolwork. Say if you have a job, you have your leadership stuff, you can organize them in Google Folders. These can also be shared as well if you needed to share them. And it's a good way to organize all your documents, any pictures you might have, especially if you wanted to make a folder specifically for each task. You can put all of the documents that you need with it. So, name one tool that works best for you to stay organized. What would you recommend this tool? Would you recommend it to other students? For me, I think definitely a planner is a big one. You might not think you'll use one, but it's a very, very good tool. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you have one that you use every day. I also use my calendar app on my phone as well. Um, and that's the end of my presentation for today. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions on this workshop, please send me an email. If you weren't able to watch this live today and you wanted to comment and collaborate with me, shoot me an email. I'd love to chat with you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.